So for our third segment, we are talking about the future of the government, specifically talking about good old T-Dog, Donald Dog Trump.
Donald Dog.
So last
maybe,
week,
maybe you should call him Donald Dog Trump, because then the right wing will turn away from him. Because,
exactly,
they hate dogs.
So weak.
So weak.
So last week,
you need an emotional support, Trump. So
Trump
weak.
finally came out and announced his candidacy for president in 2020.
I think finally is the wrong word, Michael.
You're right. It is very, very early.
This is the earliest I've ever seen anybody announce a run for president.
It is. And we can talk about why we think that might be the case. But it seems like it's been coming since December 2020.
Yeah.
Because it's been so clear that the moment he lost, he was going to try to reclaim it. And so now it seems like almost like a foregone conclusion that he'll be running in 2024, and he, with announcing his candidacy, that's the case.
Yeah. Which I just got to say, I know that for him it's an ego boost, but on a logical level, why? I mean, all you did was complain about how mean people were to you when you were president. All right. And all you do is complain about how that put you in the public eye to the point where people started scrutinizing your businesses, which never would have happened if you hadn't put yourself in the public eye. Yeah. Which is absolutely true. Like, why do you want to put yourself back into the public eye?
Yeah.
Like, why? And also, you didn't really do that much, which is probably a good thing, because the things you wanted to do were stupid, but like, what did he actually do?
You're not trying to be in office because you really care.
He failed to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which good, but like, that was one of the big things that Republicans had been trying to run on since the Affordable Care Act was passed. All right. And you had a majority in the House and the Senate, and you couldn't get that done. You passed a tax bill. That was probably your biggest accomplishment. A tax bill that was colossally unpopular, where 80% of all benefits after 10 years will have gone to the top 1%. Now, for you, that's an accomplishment because you're part of the top 1%. But like, other than that, what did you actually do? What did you actually accomplish? All right. What do you want to accomplish at this
Power,
point?
man. He's one of the most clear cases in my head of like someone that just like can't not be like have power. And I think it's because he needs the ego boost, because he's clearly like really got terrible self-esteem. He requires input all the time from other people to like help him feel big. And I think he just wants to feel big again.
But like, what good is power if you're not going to do anything with it?
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, that's such a functional attitude. You're like a real whole human being, and Donald Trump isn't. he's like a power vacuum. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. Like, you're just about to get Twitter back, dude. Like, you're going to have everything you really wanted already. Yeah. So I think there's like a couple of reasons. So not only, I think it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that he was going to run again for 2024. I think like Trump has failed so many times throughout his life and always pretended that it was a victory and went on to try to fail at something else. Yeah. He just, by the way, that's just his MO.
Before the midterms, and God, if anybody that I supported ever said something like this, I would immediately hate them. Like, I don't care. If Bernie Sanders ever said something like this, I would immediately start hating him. All right. He actually said, like, he was asked about the results of, what it will be like at the midterms. He was like, well, so if we win, I should get all the credit. And if we lose, I should get none of the blame. He literally said that. He literally said that. That is the most intellectually dishonest. I mean, not the most intellectually dishonest thing he's ever said. He's like, that's a pretty high bar, but that's so intellectually dishonest. Yeah. All right. That's such a, like, yeah. God. But
like, I think that's like,
how
really...
can you hear that and support that man? How?
Yeah. I think that's like, but as we've talked about Trump and his MO and his whole campaign strategy, that's very much his kind of thing. It's like, failure's not a loss. I'm just the smartest guy in the room, and failure to me is just, It's not really failure. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I back in the 2016 run, Clinton said, like, you've taken businesses to bankruptcy 6 times, which is true. 6 times his businesses have declared bankruptcy. And his response was, on occasion, 4 times we used certain laws that are there, which is basically saying, yeah, we took our businesses to bankruptcy, but we got out and made more money as a result of it. Like, it's his whole thing is, I don't have to accept failure if I just pretend it's not failure. Yeah. I mean, he kept talking about how he won the popular vote in 2016.
I mean, that's how he treats Eric.
and what's interesting is, like, that's how he's treating the midterms. But what's interesting, he's using a similar tactic, like trying to like overshadow other potential candidates for the presidency by basically going like, well, I don't fail. Like, I haven't failed at any point. Like, it was the system that messed me up or whatever. It's not my fault. And so I'm going to be the president in 2024, which is one of the reasons why he might be might have declared so early, is to basically take up all the oxygen in the room so that no one else thinks they have a chance and they're not going to try to challenge him.
Yeah. And he's already starting to shit on Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm. Because he knows.
Well, only like Ron DeSantis, all he said was he wasn't ruling anything out.
Yeah.
All right. And Trump took that as he's being disloyal. Imagine that shit. Imagine that shit. Now, I mean, to be realistic, Ron DeSantis is going to run.
Sure.
I mean, he is going to run. He'd have to be an idiot not to run. As terrible as he is very popular in the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And some polls are even are showing him creeping up on Trump.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to be an idiot not to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron DeSantis is not an idiot,
mm-hmm.
which is actually what makes him so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we should spend some time talking about Ron DeSantis.
Sure.
Because odds are the Republican primary is going to be mainly just Trump and DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a lot of other Republicans running because most Republicans are terrified of Trump.
Yeah.
And DeSantis he's walked a fine line
mm-hmm.
of like not sucking up to Trump, but also basically being Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Ron DeSantis is more dangerous than Donald Trump. I feel confident to say that. Ron DeSantis is more dangerous than Donald Trump. Because Ron DeSantis actually knows how to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And he has gotten things done in Florida.
Yeah.
All right. The Don't Say Gay bill. All right. The prevention of felons from voting. All right. The passage of anti-protest laws, which, by the way, fascist
mm-hmm.
deregulation. And
his retribution against Disney. Not to say that's necessarily that bad, but using a lot of different levers in his control.
But what's interesting is that was all bullshit.
Yeah.
All right? Because what ended up happening, like the so-called retribution against Disney, actually ended up making it so that Disney was paying less in taxes and the people that lived in the area that were not Disney were paying more in taxes. So it ended up actually benefiting Disney while he could simultaneously pretend that he was attacking Disney. So it was like he was posturing as this populist candidate who was standing up to the woke corporation while simultaneously helping the corporation.
Yeah. That's the perfect Republican nightmare.
It's a perfect Republican nightmare. Like, that's the thing. Man. Pulling a move like that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Is brilliant. All right? He is not a stupid guy. He is not. But he is fucking evil.
Yeah.
All right? I don't necessarily know if he's as evil as Trump, but he has much more of a chance of actually getting stuff passed than Trump.
Yeah, totally.
And the thing is, there were some issues that Trump was actually a little bit better than a lot of Republicans on. Mm-hmm. Like, in terms of LGBT rights, again, this is grading on a bar in comparison to other Republicans. All right. Yeah. In terms of Republican presidents, he was the most pro-LGBT Republican president
mm-hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
And in fact, you could make an argument that he was probably the second most pro-LGBT president ever. Because I mean, maybe you could make an argument for Bill Clinton outstripping him, but Bill Clinton did pass the Defense of Marriage Act. I mean, and you can argue that the Defense of Marriage Act was a long-term strategy, but Donald Trump did not really make any attempts to try to overturn marriage equality, and he was the first Republican candidate ever to talk about the LGBTQ community in his speech at the Republican National Convention. All right, the first Republican nominee to ever do that, and to talk about it, to talk about them as a good thing. Like, he, in rhetoric, he has specifically said that he wants to protect the LGBT community. Now, to be clear, he did plenty of things that were bad for the LGBT community. All right, the trans-military ban was horrible. I'm not saying that he's good on these issues. I'm saying that he's better than Ron DeSantis on these issues.
For sure.
All right. Yeah. And on the other issues, all right, on economic elitism, posturing is economic populism, but it's economic elitism. You have a much higher likelihood of being able to get stronger deregulation done by Ron DeSantis, more extensive tax cuts for the rich from Ron DeSantis, a reduction, rollbacks in healthcare from Ron DeSantis. I mean, I would assume that you're probably more likely to get worse outcomes in terms of international politics. Now, he'll probably be more respected on an international level than Trump was, but Trump would often do erratic things, but he at least postured as being anti-war. All right. And in some ways he did attempts to be. Ron DeSantis, I don't know. Is he going to be a war hawk? I haven't really heard much of what he has to say. Yeah. If he's more of a war hawk, he's probably going to do a lot more in terms of bloating our military budget.
Yeah.
So if he does take that route, he's going to be a lot more effective.
Yeah.
The thing is, he is going to be more effective than Trump. He has already been more effective than Trump in Florida at doing terrible things.
Yeah. And once also we get past the Republican primary, he's probably more electable than Trump.
Yeah.
If the midterms were any indication, where extremist electioneering super MAGA Trump candidates lost largely because people that were okay with more conventional Republicans turned away from the more extreme Republicans, that's a pretty good indication that Trump might not be electable again in 2024, or at least not nearly as electable as like a more traditional candidate, which means that in some ways it might be the Democratic strategy of supporting the worst candidate on the other side, paying off. Like, he might be a gift to Democrats, obviously, if he loses, only if he loses. But Ron DeSantis on the other side, if he's able to get past the Republican primary, which is a big question because Trump still has a large part of the Republican base, but if he's able to get past the primary, he might be able to be palatable enough to some of those like more center voters. And certainly fewer people will probably reject him because of the kinds of crazy, erratic, treasonous stuff that Trump has done.
Yeah. Now, there is one other factor that I think I want to bring up, because I think that there's a good chance that if Ron DeSantis wins the primary, that Trump runs third party. I think he is that egotistical.
Oh man, that would be crazy. Holy shit, crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Like,
oh man,
I think that happens. Sure. I think there's a good chance that happens. All right. So I look, I think the ideal scenario here, because like I want Trump to not have the Republican nomination. I don't want him to have the.
I agree.
I do think that Ron DeSantis is more dangerous.
Yeah.
But I don't want him to have the Republican nomination.
Yeah, but
I think that the ideal scenario,
actively pushed for the destruction of our government, getting nominated again as one of the two major parties. Like,
yeah, that is one area in which Ron DeSantis isn't as bad.
Yeah,
as Trump.
He hasn't yet tried to commit treason.
Yeah. Now he has not been a friend to. He has committed voter disenfranchisement.
Sure.
He has done that. But he's never straight up tried to steal an election. at least in the same way that Trump did. He did it in his own ways. But I think the ideal scenario here is Ron DeSantis gets the nomination, Trump runs third party, Democrats have a fucking landslide. Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it would be a landslide for the presidency, but probably a lot of split ticket that would lead to we still looking at a pretty tough race for Senate. But
yeah. Oh, that is another thing. I'm not going to lie to you all. The 2024 Senate looks bad. Like the race in the Senate looks bad. Like the last thing I want to leave you with is I think there's a good chance that if either we have a better candidate or if Biden is able to get his numbers up and be a decent top of the ticket candidate, that we could have a chance of retaking the House. But the Senate has some vulnerable fucking races. All right. In the Senate in 2024, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, Arizona. All of those seats are probably potential pickups for Republicans. All of those seats.
Fuck.
So our 2024 race does not look good right now.
Oh my God. They might be able to just pass legislation. That would be stunning.
Yeah.
Yeesh. Another reason why just looking at the calendar would have meant that we would have done away with the filibuster. Because it was like, they're already going to get 60 votes. It's fine. We can just get rid of the filibuster. It'll be okay. So on that note, there's a little bit of doom and gloom in the future. I think in whatever case, like the best case scenario is that we have two really terrible candidates on the Republican side that somehow try to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
But even that might be pretty far-fetched. And we might be looking at another, Democrat versus Trump election in 2024.